Hello scholars, welcome back to the Kemet Maasai Academy as we continue our series of motivational videos for students. As usual, I'm reading from the Student's Master Plan, Hardcore Rules for a Lifetime of Success. And the topic that I'm looking at now is a rude awakening. Have you ever heard that expression? Somebody say you're going to get a rude awakening. My teacher used to tell us that when I was in high school. One of my teachers used to always say, you guys, you continue, you're going to get a rude awakening. And I always used to wonder, what is she talking about? The first time I remember hearing the term a rude awakening, I couldn't figure out what it meant. But I knew it didn't sound too good. It had the word rude in it. Can't be so good. But then it also had the word awakening. So it might not be so bad after all, right? Two opposite words together. A rude awakening serves the necessary purpose of knocking a student out of a false sense of security, provided you are awoken before the apocalypse, also known as final exams, in which case there might still be hope for you. My teachers used to threaten us with a rude awakening all the time. It was one of their favorite points of reference, since they figured most students could relate to being rude and to being asleep. Some of us took heed and woke up in the nick of time, averting the fate of doom. My advice to you is, try never to fall asleep on the job in the first place. Understand very carefully in advance what is required of you and pace yourself so that you do not need to have a mad rush near the finish line. A rude awakening only comes to those who are unprepared and unconscious of what was required of them, or those who did not care to meet those obligations to begin with. Don't be one of those students who are told at the end of their final year that they will not be graduating because they do not meet the academic and/or behavioral requirements. These days, it is not enough to excel academically. Don't be deceived. Colleges, universities, and businesses opt for those applicants who are well-rounded and multifaceted. Great academic grades, a reasonable exposure to various extracurricular activities and clubs, demonstrated ability to be sociable and participative. Relying on your academic prowess alone, or on your athletic or vocational prowess alone, for that matter, is to have a false sense of reality. Wake up. Wake up call. Students oftentimes at the beginning of the school year, the middle of the school year, they pretty much, some of them just, they're just casually going about things. There's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of planning, no sense of trying to get a stride going that you can stick to. So many times, the students will be seen just loitering about the place or congregating with their peers and chatting and going off to do things that they really don't have the time to do, but they think they have the time. They think they have all the time in the world. And this is a trait of the young, really. It's a trait of youngsters to think that you have all the time in the world because you don't think death doesn't concern you. That's out of the question. Young people don't think they can die. I'm almost convinced that this is the way of thinking. Death doesn't concern you. Running out of time doesn't concern you. Getting to the point where, you know, your back is against the wall and you have nowhere else to turn, that kind of thing doesn't occur to the young. It's just a part of being young. It comes with the territory. So as teachers, we have to try to get our students to understand, listen, you have to pace yourself, you have to develop a steady stride that you can keep with, because don't be like those who, when they turn the corner and they see that home stretch. So I'm using the analogy now of a racehorse, a team of racehorses heading down that track. Some of them just going, you know, nonchalantly trotting. When they turn that last corner and the home stretch, they're on the home stretch and they're facing the gate, the line, the finish line. That is the time when some of them are really putting in the effort, and sometimes it's too late. So don't be like those students who waste much of the school year, you know, doing things that are really not relevant and actually sometimes detrimental to their academic studies. And then there is this mad rush, this mad scurry to try and get everything together, to complete the syllabus, to do their revision, to get clarity on things that were perplexing them all along, and they just did not spend the time. When they have like a month left, weeks left, days left, hours left before final exams, that's when they're having that mad rush. That is the rude awakening, because now you realize, if I don't get this done, I am in big trouble. Or those who have behavioral problems, constantly being called up by the dean of discipline, constantly being sent to the principal, constantly being sent to the guidance counselor, constantly in detention, sometimes being suspended, on the verge of expulsion, not doing anything to change that behavior. And then graduation is coming up and you're seeing everybody making plans, you know, for graduation, and you know, the ceremony and the after party and everything, and you hear now that, you know, you will not be able to graduate because you have been given too much trouble, or your grades have just been too low, consistently low. You have not done anything to try to make them better. So now you are calling everybody to come. You're calling mommy to come and beg for you. You're calling pastor to come and pray for you. You're calling everybody. You're shedding tears, hoping that persons will sympathize, when it might be too late. It might be too late, because, you know, usually people try to intervene long before it gets to that point. So it's a case where the student just refuses to understand the severity of his or her actions and the consequences that will result from those actions. So, you know, don't allow yourself to have to get a rude awakening. As the passage said, don't fall asleep in the first place. Don't fall asleep on your duties. Don't fall asleep on, you know, getting the things done that you're supposed to do. So nobody has to grab you and shake you up and say, look at what is happening. Look at the reality of your situation. You're not going to qualify to move on to the next level. You might have to repeat, or you will be expelled, or you're going to end up getting a a dead-end job because that's all you're qualified to do, and then you realize, oh my God, this isn't what I wanted for myself, this isn't what I wanted for my life, what am I going to do? Don't be one of those adults who waste their school years, don't listen to good advice, don't listen to warnings, waste their school years, and then when there are no adults and should be focusing on getting a career, focusing on probably starting a family if that's the orientation, traveling the world, experiencing life, now they have to be going back to school. And when I say going back to school, there's nothing wrong with adults being in school, furthering their education. I'm talking about these adults now having to do remedial work, having to go back over things that they should have been doing for years coming up. They neglected that, and now they have to be sitting in a class with students who are 5, 6, 10 years younger than they are, trying their best not to feel out of place, trying their best to act natural, Don't be that adult. Now is the time. You have the opportunity. You have no other responsibilities, no overhead costs. All you have to do now is focus on your studies. Just do that. Do that. Don't wait until now you have to think about you move out of your parents' house, or you are kicked out. Give what you, because some parents don't play, right? Once they see that you intend on being a parasitic kind of adult, they will hit the road. So you might find yourself having now to think about rent, utility bills, transportation costs, food. You might find yourself with a family. If you have not been planning, and getting your affairs in order, you might find all these things now you have to juggle, in addition to going back for remedial work, when you should either be progressing academically, getting your degrees, furthering, getting more degrees if that is your inclination. You should not now be thinking of going back to the basics and having to endure being in a class with youngsters. It's not a good look, right? And it's not a good feel. So let this be your rude awakening. When you still have time, it's not too late for you to change your ways. It's not too late for you to change your ways. I hope and trust that you have been motivated by this video, and that you will share it so that others may be motivated as well. Remember, when you subscribe to the Kemet Maasai Academy, you have access to dozens and dozens and dozens of academic videos, mathematics videos, right, from grade 4 to grade 11. So please take advantage of those. I will see you in the next video.